Okay, welcome back to the channel. Today I have my Chevy Volt again, and today I'm going to change out the springs and struts and shocks. So these are the Eibach springs, which I was talking about, and it will drop it about 3/4 of an inch in the front, about 1.25 inches in the back. So the front spoiler is sitting about 8 inches off the ground, and this one up here, this is the shortened one, is about 5 inches, 5.5. So that would probably be the most critical clearance part. Not really worried about, I mean, it was way lower before with that other air dam. It's sitting about 27.75 roughly for the rear, and sitting at about 27 for the front. So it looks like for the front, you have to take this cover off to get to the top of the shock bolts, which you can see on this side through the screen. It's right there. The other side's covered up. So it looks like these pins you remove, and it looks like it'll come off. So you do have to take the wiper blades off. Okay. And then that cowl, like I said, with those pins, and it pretty much just pops out of there. So now I have access to the bolt. That side had a little beauty cap on it, and this side didn't because it was covered up and you couldn't see it. So that, I didn't really have the right tool for it, but I did have a 3-jaw puller, so that did help. I was able to pop it with that. So now I can get it up in the air and get going on that. So what I did here is I did loosen these up. It's just hanging by it now, so this way when I get the bottom ready to come off, I can just push up and then just take the screw off by hand and get the whole thing out. Okay, so what I have here is new bearing plates for the top, KYB struts and the shocks. Here's the springs, and then I'm taking them plastic sway bar links out and I'm gonna put these in, and they're greasable. So I just wanted to show that real quick. Got them out of the trunk. Okay, I know some people don't like these things, but these kind of like have these safety pins in it. That's fine. I got the nut off there, so I just have to slide this stuff out. The only thing I'm going to keep is the dust boot and the isolator on the bottom, and there's one on the top. Okay, these KYBs were ordered for the Volt, so you can see that these are the same height. From what I understand, if you get them for the cruise, this is an inch higher, which would raise your ride height, which is what you don't want. So just keep that in mind. So another thing I wanted to point out is you can see the new spring has tighter wound coils and more of them, obviously, to do that. And it's about the same length. So it's going to be a little stiffer, which is what we're after. The finished product, there's the new strut with the spring on it, and there is a bump stop that's inside here that I transferred over also. So here in comparison is the stock plastic one with the new steel one with the grease. To get it off, they're kind of in a bad spot. But anyway, because the nut goes down the inside, Now, since I don't care about these, I just grabbed it with vice grips so this won't spin, because otherwise you have to put a Torx head in there and do it. But as you can see, since it's facing inward, it kind of sucks. So that is why I'm doing it this way. Okay, so I got the top all put back together. I can get to the back now. This took longer than I thought, just because of the whole deal with taking this stuff off the front. The back looks way easier. I don't even think I have to take the tires off, so let's check that out. So here we are with the rear springs. I just dropped the bottom of the shock bolts out, and the whole axle pretty much swings down. As you can see, there's no load on these springs. I mean, there's I can let it down a little more. And I'm going to be able to just, as you can see, it's dropping. So I can just take those springs out and just switch them with those. Okay. So you got the two bolts, one there and one there. And you can kind of just pull the plastic out of the way to get to those. The other side. I already got the new one on there. So it literally takes just a couple minutes. So I will get this one switched out, then I'll jack the car back up and then put the springs in. Now, right here, just to get this bracket off here, this bolt is gonna, it'll come off. The other one came off fairly easy, but just put the shock in a vise, because this is going to spin on you and this will be a pain in the ass. So just by clamping down, this shaft cannot spin, and then you can just zip the nut off. Now you're going to want to take this boot off with this is a bump stop here. It just slides off the end and just slide it on the other one. Now this is the new shock. Now you see I got vice grips on this piston, but it's not an issue because the bump stop goes there, so the shock is never going to hit that point. So it's not going to hurt it when you're tightening it in case it spins. Okay, so we just have the shocks dangling there. They're all done, mounted at the top. That's how much I got to lift it to meet the shock. So I'm just gonna, I got that up front, so when I lift this up, it doesn't tip it off, the front. And there's the shock or the spring perches. So all I gotta do is throw them up in there, and I can start lifting up the axle. All right, so now I have the springs in there. What I did is evenly raise these, the ends of the axle up, so that the shock bolts will line up perfectly. So I just got to tighten those up, and then that's it. Then I can put it on the ground. Okay, so I got it on the ground. I'm gonna have to drive it and let the suspension settle. I will continue this probably tomorrow after it's driven a little bit and take some new measurements. All right, it's the next day. I had a chance to take it for a good ride to work today, and I did some measuring, and the back was 27 3/4, and it is now about 26 1/2 in the back, and the front is about 26 1/2 to the wheel wells, and that front spoiler now is about 7 inches off the ground instead of 8. So that would put that at 4 1/2 inches clearance for that air dam underneath. So it's still a little bit more clearance than it was with the bigger one, because when I back out of my garage, it doesn't scrape. So I thought it might, but it doesn't. Handling wise, excellent. And also, I hit one of these dips on the road that usually the car kind of bottoms out on the bump stops, and real solid, firm feel to it. Handling back and forth, everything is great. So it's definitely worth it to me. If you felt that the car felt a little sloppy on the road, which this one did, this takes that all away between the springs, the shocks, the steel sway bars. I don't know if they flex less, and then the rear sway bar on the back. I would definitely, if you want to do some upgrades, it's not very expensive to do for everything that you get, you know. So I'm very happy with everything, and if there's any questions about anything that you didn't see, just go ahead and ask in the comments, and I'll be glad to help. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe, and we'll talk at you later.